I seriously, I looked around while I was walking. It's like, all right, you're here. This is what I wanted. I wanted to know what this felt like to go 130 miles, 134 miles, to pass the 18.25 mile run that I did at home as my long run. Once I passed that, this was all new experiences. And I think that's why I slowed down, because I haven't done this in a long time. What is it? I want to remember what this feels like. I haven't done an Ironman in 7 years. What does 19 miles feel like of jogging, to physically be out there? And so that's what I did. And welcome back once again to the Endurance Hour podcast, episode 381. It's been a week and a half or so, about 2 weeks, I guess, since our last podcast. A lot has happened, a lot of news in the world of multi-sport. Yours truly did his Ironman number 6. My son did his Iron Kids number 1, which I'm probably more excited about than my race. That was pretty awesome. I've got some interesting experience to share with you from a water contrast therapy session that I did yesterday. And then Wendy and I will discuss the new Ironman World Championship venue plans moving forward for 2023, and the reaction I read yesterday with some athletes who aren't very happy about maybe feeling duped after they, accepted their slot with probably WTC knowing that where it was going to be. Anyhow, I was reading some comments. So Wendy, have you won any races since we last talked? Any trail races or 5Ks or something, turkey trots?
No, I did do a 10K and a 5K turkey trot on Thanksgiving Day, and that's in Marietta Square. It's pretty famous old town location. It's about a 10-minute drive from my parents' house, so I got to go to visit my mom afterwards. And that's about it. I just ran a run. I'm a participant. Quite a few people have asked me, what are your plans, goals, events for 2023? And my word of next year is to be a participant. I'm a participant. I have no big event goals like I've had over the last few years. And I'm pretty happy about that.
I feel similar in terms of being content. After Ironman Arizona, I felt like, okay, I'm good. I really felt like I'm good.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm set. It's how you mentioned how many years you've been in the sport. I started my first triathlon in April of 98. So this is 24 and a half years of being active in the sport. Not that I'm done with it. It's just that I'm content with the Ironman distance, specifically because of the time commitment and the family I have now with a 3 and a 4.5-year-old. It's just hard to manage the time. And then also the cloud that hangs over me with the not the obligation, I should say. It's more like this time window that I cannot ignore in order to be prepared for the distance. And I was telling my wife actually this morning, it's like I'm not quitting the sport. I'm just okay not doing Ironman. I feel like, and this is just because I've done it for a long time, I feel like I can do a half Ironman, no problem. It sounds like I'm just being nonchalant, but I've done it for a while. I can do a half Ironman, no problem. Olympic, I can do in my sleep. But and I was trying to explain to her, just to remind her, you have to prepare your body for the distance. And knowing that, for example, on a Saturday, I have a 5-hour window I have to put in. It's not just a matter of you press play and go. It's you got to get ramped up for some of these work. You don't just work out casually to prepare yourself. If you want to perform at a certain level, you have to get into it. You have to really mentally get into it and then execute. And it's just, for me, I've done 6 of them. Last one I did was in 2015, big break in between. And I've had a lot of life experiences happen since. So I'm glad I did it. So glad I completed it, finished what I started. But I'm not really interested right now, not for the foreseeable future at all, of doing the full halves. I'm okay with that. No problem. And I would want to compete at the halves or possibly compete in the Olympics. Sprints, not to be rude, just not worth it. It's an hour race.
Oh, see, I'm the opposite. Like I'm
Really?
a participant.
Yeah.
I want to participate in as many events that I have not participated in because I've been doing, training for an ultra run or training for an Ironman limited me to doing some of those shorter events that locally. I would do them locally, like sprints and Olympics that I haven't been able to do. I'm actually looking forward to doing that because there's been very limited amount of years in the last 30 years that I have focused on the shorter races. In 2004, 2005, 2006, I did specifically do that. Again, my lifestyle was different, priorities were different, and I kind of am feeling like I'm going to go back to that. I don't want to even do a 70.3. It's expensive. I want to participate, and
Mm.
participating to me means I don't want to disrupt anything with because I'm traveling to do a half or a full. I want to be able to like say, okay, I get to go do that Olympic and then I get to move on with my day. Or I get to do the sprint and move on with my day. And it doesn't cost a lot of money. It doesn't cost much in travel time or accommodation time.
So what would be your why on participating in a sprint or an Olympic if maybe you're a participant and not a competitor?
Just to do locally, support the local races
Okay.
and to get in a high intensity workout.
And would maybe the competitive juices jump in and go, if I go a little harder, or I want to, I want to do well,
Yeah, I
or
mean, so I'm not saying I'm not going to compete as
okay,
being a participant,
okay,
but I'm not going to, training. We've talked about this on other podcasts before. Training to compete at the level that I was at or am at is different than training to do. I could go do an Ironman tomorrow, but in my mind, what's the point?
mm-hmm,
I have no desire to qualify for Kona right now. And so why, to me, there's no why in going to do an Ironman unless I wanted to use it as a qualifying race for Kona. Same with the 70.3 distance. I have no why or desire to do a 70.3 distance unless I wanted to go to the World Championship. And because that's been my why for a few years of doing those longer distance races. Now with the sprint and Olympic, again, supporting the local events, meeting people, seeing people. It's over with quicker. You get to kind of have still a day ahead of you and not have the full day that you tend to have when you're training for a 70.3, 140.6.
mm-hmm.
And it's just a mindset. Again, for me, I enjoy the process and I enjoy the training and the workouts more than that I enjoy the competitiveness of competing in an event. And I always have.
Hmm. So you get out there and you do it in a
I'd
way.
go do it as hard as I could
Okay,
at the
okay,
level of fitness I'm at that point,
got it.
but I'm
Okay,
not going to train for a sprint. I'm not going to specifically train for an Olympic. I'm going to say, "Oh, I have a free weekend. I don't have a swim meet this weekend. There's this race going on, for example, in Tugaloo State Park, which is a really pretty state park, and I've done that race a few times. I'm going to go do Tugaloo because I love the venue. I like the support. I like the race company that directs it,
mm-hmm.
and it's a good workout. It's a good venue to do a multi-sport workout. And so I'm treating these any events that I do more as it's a day of training
Mm-hmm.
in a different way that
Yeah.
Ironman's a day of training.
Well,
It's a
are you
mindset.
saying
It's a totally mindset.
even as a participant, and you will compete once you get in the start line, is it an event you put on the calendar? And to me, that's the difference
No.
between the
No, I'm
two.
not putting I'm not
Okay,
putting many events on the calendar.
got
That's
it.
what I mean. If I
Okay.
happen to have a weekend where again, I don't have a swim meet or I don't
Mhm.
have any other obligations and I'm like, "Ooh, that event that I've seen in the past is this weekend. Oh, I wonder if it's still open. I'm going to go do it."
Okay.
I'm not going to my race is not, or my race schedule in the near future, year, 2, 3, 4, whatever, however number of years, is not going to be dictated by an event that I have to sign up for a year in advance.
Yeah. There was a soon after I got back from Arizona, there was an email that came out about pre-register and save money on an Olympic in town.
Uh-huh.
I'm on a mailing list. And it's like, oh, what? Over a year from now, you want me to, or next year, you want me to sign up for this now to save $20? It's like that's a little premature
Right.
especially for an Olympics. Like, why do I want to early bird special? I know they're trying, a little bit of money grab, but early bird special, what the heck? I mean, I
Right.
don't know.
And
Maybe
and
I'm
I
not their audience.
Right, and I've talked about again on podcasts and just in life in general. I'm always going to train. I don't need to sign up for a race to motivate myself to stay healthy and fit and to train.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the races I sign up for will dictate how far or how long or how intense I do train for. So I'm always at a certain baseline fitness level
Right.
that when I say, ooh, a half marathon this weekend, oh, it's right down the road from where I live. I'm gonna go do it. I planned on doing a 10 to 15-mile run anyways. Why not
Mm-hmm.
do it in a race setting?
Mm-hmm.
Because again, there's the races still put you or me or anyone else at a different intensity level than we tend to do in a training venue. And it's good to compete again. I like competing against myself. I like to challenge myself more than I like to challenge myself with other people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't look up race participants at any race just to see who's there because that's not going to change the way I prepare or how fit I am. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just going to show up and do what I can do based on, the circumstances of the day and the current fitness level I'm at.
I like that. And maybe we can use this as a jumping off point is to race at your fitness level and not look at the other participants. And that was something that was in my mind going into Arizona is that I had goals, but as the training block continued and progressed and got closer to the deadline, those race expectations lowered because the training wasn't matching what my initial goals were.
Right.
So
Uh-huh.
as the lack of training continued, or the holes in my training continued, the time expectations dropped, and also in a way it lowered my enthusiasm because I went into this, months and months ago of like, sweet, here's my PR course because I PR'd there
Mm.
before, and it is promoted as come to Arizona and achieve your PR,
Uh-huh.
and that wasn't the case. I wouldn't think for almost anybody this year. Uh, so my expectations went lower and lower. And I go, okay, well, here's what I can probably do based on fitness level. And I
Mhm.
think that's a great thing for anybody who's listening is to go into it with your fitness level as your baseline. What can I do? And of course, it's probably going to ramp up a little bit just because it's a race situation. But I
Yeah,
think
and
that's
we
nice.
always, we always have certain expectations or certain goals and where we want what we want to achieve.
Hmm.
And again, we have the experience to understand how life will impact those expectations and those fitness levels that we want to be at. And a lot of people who don't have quite as much experience don't really understand that now. They will. Again, I've been doing this for 30 years and every year I continue to learn something about myself and what I'm capable of mentally and physically. And that's what drives me to keep doing this sport. It's those failures or those lack of luster experiences that I have, or those situations or things that happen to me that I'm like, I don't know why. I have no idea why that happened.
Mm.
But I'm still going to I'm still going to continue to figure it out and learn from it and change some things if things need to be changed, and then continue to do whatever I'm going to continue to do, whether it's shorter, faster, longer, faster, whatever it is.
Hmm.
Um, that's what kind of keeps driving me forward. So I want to hear more about your race. Did you execute it based on how you plan to execute it? How did your race execution go?
I think it stopped real quick. Uh, execution wise, um, the initial game plan was over in a matter of minutes.
Uh-huh.
It was a great. I mean, I was by myself, and I was okay with it. I understood why it was so early, and it wasn't going to be exciting for family to come out and watch the swim. So I drove down there by myself, got there plenty
Uh-huh.
early, walked down, did a quick little walkthrough video of the transition, put it online that morning. That was kind of fun, just to here's what the morning looks like in
Uh-huh.
transition. So the swim start was about a mile or half a mile off to one side. So we walked up there. I got a little emotional. I let my emotions
Mhm.
come out. It's weird. I looked up at the moon, and the
Mhm.
moon was a cradle moon. It was the lower half was exposed. You could see a light on the lower half
Mhm.
of the moon. And in my mind, when I saw that, this is weird. Oh, goosebumps. I was thinking of cradling my son like he's a baby,
Uh-huh.
holding my, because sometimes he'll say, "Will you carry me upstairs like a baby?" Both of them will say that
Uh-huh.
when it's bedtime. And so I saw that moon, and I got a little choked up when I looked up and saw it because I was thinking of my son. And it was, I was just waiting around, and I got into the section, and I wanted to get into the 130 time spot
Mhm.
for the wave, but because it was crowded and I was stretching, I got into the 145 to 2 hour range. I think it's the group I got into, and I was, got in there, and one thing I was reminded of, no one got a pre-swim, and the temperature was announced, and someone said 59 or 60. It was real close to there. And I go,
Mhm.
okay, well, I've been in cold water. I've been in cold plunging for the last three
Mhm.
months. I am mentally and somewhat physically prepared for cold water. So I
Right.
know that's, I'm going to be okay. I can deep breathing. I know some techniques about getting your face in the water. Although I forgot about the face in the water on what a shock that is at 60.
Mhm.
So I'm walking up. I saw some Vaseline, little small like travel size Vaseline cups with lids on them off the side, and I got something going. Oh, I remember this on putting it on your face around your just between your nose and your cheekbone. That's the capillaries or something that
Mhm.
once hit with cold water elevate your heart rate, and you hardly take a breath. So I put some there on both sides. I go, oh, that's a good thing because I know the water's gonna be cold. I thought, oh, I can handle 60 because I'm
Uh-huh.
ready. So we get down there, hit my watch. Looks like I started at 7:06, 7:07, which is a little. I thought it was going to be a 7:10 or 7:15 just based on the flow of all the
Uh-huh.
athletes, like 2,200 athletes or so. I jump in and like, oh my God, this is cold. I wasn't, and so I started doing the head out of water swimming like a dog paddle
Uh-huh.
to like in my head. I said, okay, we're going to get out there. We're going to relax. We're going to glide, streamline. And I was visualizing in my head what I need to swim like. And that
Uh-huh.
if I casually, with a full wetsuit, casually swim, I can easily average 145, 150 at most. Casually, easily, don't overdo it. Just get into a rhythm because I got the wetsuit on. I'll be able to glide through the water. So I was very confident, very calm, got in the water, with, kind of a relaxed look on my face, get in. Oh, it's cold. All right, that's fine. I know how to experience this. I'm going to dog
Mhm.
paddle with my head out of water, slowly to the first buoy. All right, put my head in the water. Wow, that's cold. All right, then I go into my reserve of my information. Big breaths, blow out in the water
Mhm.
when you put your face into it. Gradually expose yourself to the cold. So I was like, okay, I'm comfortable and confident. Did that, did that, did that. Got to the first buoy or so. Took me a little while to a few minutes to get where I needed to be. And then I
Mhm.
come to the first kayak. I swear, Wendy, 5 to 6 people on this first kayak that I visually saw within the first 200 yards.
Mhm.
It was cold, that cold for a lot of people. So I kept going. And then 5 minutes into it, or five, whatever it was on my watch, a lot of body contact. I got crawled over, hit my watch and stopped it. How can
Mhm.
you hit your Garmin at the right spot to stop your watch? Like, oh, damn it. Because I felt like maybe they hit my button, but
Mhm.
I can't see. The water's dark. It's 60 degrees. Once we make that first turn at 300 yards or whatever it is, we go into the sun. It's like, oh, okay, fine. But it's a long stretch. It's a long stretch. So I'm telling myself, glide. It's going to be easy. And fortunately, I didn't have my hypo breathing, hypo, whatever, not hypothermia. I didn't have the fear that I had in my previous two races where I couldn't catch my breath because I had a better
Right.
wetsuit on. It wasn't too tight,
Mhm.
but the wetsuit had some problems later, which I'll tell you. So I'm trying to get into a rhythm, glide. I got a whole mile at least straight ahead, but the sun's coming up.
Mhm.
Can't see. The water's black. It's rough. So I'm just doing my best to get into a straight rhythm, remembering in my head if I in pool swimming practice, if I close my eyes, where do my hands need to enter in order for me to be straight? Okay, I can go 4 to 6 strokes, then I'll look up. I did that. Kept getting bumped into. It was very physical. A dozen times I got crawled over or got hit or something. I know it's a part of the game. Sun, sun, sun. It seemed like it took forever to get where I needed to go. And I was like, oh my gosh, this seems like a long way. I mean, I know it's 2.5 miles, a long
Right.
way. Finally get under the second bridge because you're going on two bridges. I remember
Mhm.
those as visuals. Like, okay, there's one bridge there. Okay, cool. When I did see that bridge, I got one more bridge to go around because I can't see the buoys very well because the sun is in that spot. Plus, people are splashing. So I'm going in there. I get to the turn, make the turn around finally, but through the course of the swim, these aren't excuses, it's just my race report. My Velcro on my neck, everyone has these Velcro hickeys,
Mhm.
tore the shit out of my neck. And it was
Mhm.
stinging. And I, every once in a while, and you can barely do this, I would try to reach back and see what it was. What was going
Uh-huh.
on? Just to see if I can tap it, just to get and then get
Uh-huh.
back. So I was swimming like 2 strokes with my left arm while my right arm was trying to find the Velcro or whatever was itching.
Uh-huh.
Then I make the turn, and the wetsuit I had, and it was a free wetsuit for a demo. It's called Sumarpo. The neck is too wide. It's not tight around the neck. Super tight around the wrist, super tight around the ankles. So that was no problem
Mhm.
in terms of not letting water in. But it started letting water in my neck. And I was in the water for a long time, as you saw from my times, embarrassingly long. And the swim, not an excuse, it felt long. It's like I
Mhm.
shouldn't be out here this long. And I tried to look at my watch a couple of times, and it was it was frozen at 5 minutes. So I
Mhm.
was like, maybe I hit something else on it to see a different screen. That's what I was thinking. And I was trying to do that and I go, screw it, whatever. The time is the time. I just was curious. But the water seemed to be getting colder toward the end, and I couldn't get to the
Mhm.
end fast enough. And I was recognizing there was too much water getting in through my neck into the wetsuit because that
Oh no.
neck hole was too big. It
Uh-huh.
wasn't the Velcro issue. It was just the neck hole was too big. I kind of knew that going in, but
Right.
it's like, am I going through a cold patch of water? Is what I thought.
Right.
Later, my hypothesis is that I was just in 60-degree water for way too long, and I was
Right.
experiencing, probably as other people did on Facebook shared, maybe some mild hypothermia, because if you're in the water like I was for, double check here, an hour and 48 minutes,
Mhm.
which was 30 minutes longer than I expected.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense that I would be getting colder than I should. So I finally get out of the water and I look at the watch. I think it said 8:50. I thought it said 8:55. I going, is that right? An hour and 45 minutes, whatever it is. Like, what is that? That doesn't seem right. And so I'm toying my watch and I'm starting to run and I'm cold. Everyone's cold. Um, it was brutal. And my right shoulder got jacked up for some reason. I think it's because I was climbing over people at times and I was
Mhm.
compensating so much so where for the next 3 days, I couldn't reach my shoulder over my head.
Oh
Couldn't do
wow.
this. That's how bad my deltoid was. I
Mhm.
couldn't reach back to reach to my kid, one of my kids in the back seat of the car seat. It's like, oh my
Mhm.
goodness. And I was thinking, this is just a muscle thing. It's nothing structural. It's just a muscle thing. I overdid the right arm
Mhm.
for whatever reason. It wasn't too tight. It's just something happened where I was muscling through the swim and I was out there a long time. So a long run from the end of the swim to the transition, and my transition was 15 minutes. And I'm sure half of that was runtime because once I got to the place, I put on this fleece jacket for the bike because I heard people and I read ahead of time that, hey, if it's cold in the morning at 40 whatever 5 degrees in the morning, it's going to be a high of 70 probably. It's going to be a
Mhm.
while before you warm up, especially if you're in the water for me, like 2 hours at that temperature. So I put the fleece jacket. I was prepared there. Got gloves on. Got my helmet on. And then some guy was in front of me getting ready, and I was shaking, just trying. It's like, oh my god, I can't believe it. I was like one of those like, I was like, I can't believe how cold I am. I was like
Oh.
upset, surprised, not happy about it. And my shoulders, I mean, it's like all these things like, what a day. This is not what I planned to have happen.
Right. Right.
And then while I was getting almost done, putting my shoes on, because everything there had to be a clean transition, nothing on the ground. You put all your gear into your bike bag gear, and then you give it to a volunteer. And someone said, "Hey, yes, sunscreen, please." And said one guy said, "Don't put it on my neck. I will go. I will turn into the Hulk or something," because he had
Mhm.
a lot of neck issues too because of his wetsuit, and I felt mine. And it's like, oh crap, this is sensitive to touch. And I had someone put sunscreen on me just in case, and it stung like a son of a bitch. But I had them put it on me anyway. All right, so that was my swim. At that point, I knew, all right, the time goal is gone. If I'm taking 2 hours for this part of the race, it's gone, and it was gone.
Mhm.
But my bike plan was the first 2 loops, the first 3 to 4 hours, take it easy. Stay under 190 watts and see how the day goes before you take the next 40 miles and you have your marathon. So going out, Wendy, I don't remember the road being this bumpy. I don't remember so many gaps in the road. And I read this, I followed up on the Facebook group. They said it was like a yard sale on the road
Uh-huh.
with water bottles, nutrition, actual pieces of bike that were, I saw cages on the ground. It
Because
was
it was so rough.
it was so rough. And
Mm.
I had my helmet, what a Rudy Project, kind of an arrow helmet, and my sunglasses. And every
Mhm.
time I hit one of these long gaps in the road, I had like a clicking of your. It sounded like a clicking of your teeth, but it was my
Mhm.
helmet and my glasses bumping against each other. It's like, oh my gosh, this is not good. And I'm trying to stay in the arrow, but I'm cold. The road was really bumpy. From a distance, if you took like you took 100 yards out, you look down, that's a smooth road. But the details of that
Right.
road were not smooth. And 8 miles before you hit the Beeline Highway, headwind. There was winds, little crosswinds on the way out there. Then
Mhm.
boom, headwinds. Like I've heard about this. A couple days earlier, someone said it was quiet. 3 days earlier, when I got there in the north part of town, it was super windy. It's like but it won't be windy there. Okay, fine, sure. This is where it's gonna be fast, but I'm gonna go stay at my watch my watts, stay under 200, go out on the turn. I know it's gonna be better because of the headwind. I was going, and I remember saying this to myself. You know how you're creating your race report in your head.
Mhm.
I was going 210, 215 in watts. I was going 12 to 13 miles an hour. Going,
Mhm.
oh my God, are you serious? I can't go any faster than this. I don't want to go any harder. And it's the
Right.
first lap. So when I made the turn at 19 miles, I was averaging 14.5. It's like,
Uh-huh.
this is ridiculous. Turn around, it'll probably catch up. I don't want to go any harder, but the tailwind will probably make up some of that time. Maybe I'll get back to 18 on average. I got to 17.5 on average. So I knew with the same effort, I'll be okay. So my watts, as I'm remembering this, as I'm watching, I'm playing as I'm racing, it was like 193 the first lap on watts. It's like, okay, that's good. Fine. And now I know what the second lap's going to be like. And then as I made the turn, I had to pee really bad, but I didn't want to get off I didn't want to, didn't want to pee in my suit for some reason. So I said, the race is not what it's going to be. Let's just go. I'm going to porta potty, get off my bike for 5 minutes, pee,
Mhm.
stretch, get back on because I'm just here to finish the race. So I
Mhm.
was very content. Today's about finishing the race. I'm going to see my son and daughter, my wife at the end. That's fine. That's what I'm looking forward to now. So it did that same thing. It was still windy, but I'm warmed up. Second lap. Oh my God. There was apparently a head-on collision between two cyclists sometime between my
Oh,
first and
really?
second lap. Bad.
Head
So
on?
yes, apparently the wind pushed somebody over, according to the
Oh.
Facebook chatter. And
Okay.
there
Wow.
were more than a dozen emergency vehicles on the side of the
Uh-huh.
road. I thought maybe it was a car accident, but the accident scene was gone, but there was red on the ground, and it was blood, and there was
Hmm.
a good not a pile, but there was a good pool of blood section on the ground. It's like, oh crap, somebody fell. That's what I thought. Somebody fell,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
turns out going in different directions. One's got the tailwind and one's got the headwind, so someone's going super fast. I think
Right.
someone got pushed going out into the other side
Oh,
somehow,
wow.
and they both got taken to the hospital. I don't think that it was just bad, but it
Right,
wasn't
right.
deadly. It was bad from what I read.
Yikes.
And when I came back around, the scene had been cleared. They had like cat litter or some gravel and sand in that spot of where the blood
Mhm.
was. It's like, oh my goodness, it made sense that I thought someone just fell because of the wind. I mean, I had a
Mhm.
hard time keeping myself in the arrow position because of the wind and the road. Because the road was just in certain
Mhm.
sections. That combined with the wind, it wasn't safe to be in the arrow like I wanted to be. But
Mhm.
if you're going 14 miles an hour, it shouldn't be that big of a problem. Anyways, second loop, I repeated the same process. I stopped at the same aid station. Oh, by the way, I took my jacket off and
Mhm.
tossed it at the aid station the first time because I saw other people starting to warm up. It's like I don't want to
Right.
overeat, and I'm peeing. I had to pee really bad. So same aid station on the second loop. begin the second loop, I stopped for 5 minutes or so, stretched, took a pee, and was like, oh, I'm just going to go out and do it again. So same loop, same situation. Got a little stronger, a little warmed up, and finished the bike in a very terrible time for me. It was 6:33, which I expected was going to be. I was hoping for 19, but because the headwinds were stronger than anyone expected, this is not. I was thinking, hey, come to Ironman Arizona. It's the best all-day running buffet you can get in Tempe or something like that. It's like it's going to be a buffet day, aid station buffet, because I'm not racing anymore. I'm just going through the motions. So I knew early on in the race that it wasn't going to be a good day, and I'm just going to manage. So that's where I am here. Transition into 2. I wasn't tired. This is really strange. I wasn't. Well, I mean, at those speeds and those times, I wasn't like, oh, my quads are terrible. I'm burned out, because my watts at the end of the day were like 165, because I was going to ride this. I'm just going to ride this. It was probably one of the longest bikes I've ever done. Probably is. Yeah, 6:33 is probably the longest Ironman bike I've done. But my legs were okay. So I get off going, okay, here's my race. Got the sunscreen everywhere but my neck. And I went out and it's like, okay, and it's 2 out that way, 2 back this way. And I knew where the mile markers were on my mind based on the map. So all right, I'm going to break this up. Going to go there, going to go there. There's this mile 6 over there. Going to go to 8, 9 over there. Going to loop around and just take it easy. So I don't know if it was at mile 5 or 6 that I had the first 4 miles were very comfortable, very easy. Like 9.5 or 9:45. I forget what it was. Very easy to run. And then I think 10 miles in, it says I dropped down. I just started walking, Wendy. I just started like, I'm not really into it. It was a very strange feeling. Like, it wasn't I was cramping. It wasn't that I was tired. It was like, I'm not motivated to push this. And I was telling myself, what's the point of going any faster? It's not a PR issue. I know I can run this normally, but it's just like, it's just not. I'm going to experience this like we talked about in the last podcast. I want this feeling to run over me like water. I want to soak this feeling in of being here, and looking around, and even walking. I was enjoying the aid stations. I had some Oreo cookies. I ended up having the chicken broth later. It's like, I'm just going to do this. And I was telling myself too, tomorrow it's over. I mean, tomorrow at this time, I will have done it. Just a matter of a couple more hours, a few more hours of this. I can do that. No problem. I just go through the motions, look around, and I wasn't smiling like I was having fun. I was like, I'm just doing this. I want to get this over with. I want to have number 6 under my belt. Great, cool. Then there was a guy who I was not catching up. I was trotting past, and it his local triathlon club jersey on, and the bottom it said "Bye Felicia," and it brought a smile to my face. It's from a movie, and I said, because bye Felicia, you put a smile on my face. Thank you very much. Have a good day. And I kept on trotting by. It's like, let's kind of just enjoy this. And so for the rest of the run, I really walked a lot with no real urgency. And it wasn't because I'm tired or my cramping, nutrition. It's just like, I'm here. I have no one to see until the finish line. I saw one person, Shannon. She's Coates, who's her last name. I saw her out there, and that's the only person I saw that I've recognized. She used to be a Timex athlete. So I saw her. I don't think she saw me. But that was my day. I also did this to myself. I said, I've come 130 miles so far. And when I was with 10 miles to go, I've already done 130 miles today. 10 miles doesn't seem that much, even though a 10-mile run, when it's like, I'm not really into it, seems like a long way to go. But I've already gone 130. I'll get 10 more to go. Right. So I was doing these positive repeats in my head of, it's only 10 more miles. I got 2.5 hours, whatever it is. Like, I got, a few more hours. If I walk, I run, whatever. No big deal. It got dark. I wasn't cold. I thought it might be too cold. And so I just did that. And it was, I seriously, I looked around while I was walking, just like, all right, you're here. This is what I wanted. I wanted to know what this felt like to go 130 miles,
Mhm.
134 miles, to pass the 18.25-mile run that I did at home as my long run. Once I passed
Mhm.
that, this was all new experiences. And I think that's why I slowed down, because I haven't done this in a long time. What is it?
Mhm.
I want to remember what this feels like. I haven't done an Ironman in 7 years. What does 19 miles feel like of jogging, just
Mhm.
to physically be out there? And so that's what I did. I just went slow, and no urgency, just took it in. I was really far back in the pack. It made sense. Like, there's not very many people around me. I've never been in this position. I think I finished just under 14 hours,
Mhm.
13:54. Nothing against anybody else. I've never been this far back in one of these races where
Mhm.
normally I wouldn't be. And then, I was, in a way, the last 4 miles, again, I was doing that little math, 136 miles down, 137
Mhm.
miles down. But I almost didn't want it to end, because I wanted to continue to be in this feeling of,
Mhm.
I'm here. This is my last Ironman for a while. And I knew that this is it. And then I knew where the mile marker was at 25. I go, okay, I know where 24 is. It's before the bridge. Okay, 24 there. I only have 2 miles to go. That's easy. Let me jog it. And then I looked at my watch and I go, where am I in my time? I know that I've blown out my time, but where am I? And I thought,
Uh-huh.
ooh, I can break 14.
Uh-huh.
Okay, let's pick it up.
Mhm.
And I don't know where it was, but according to my splits, uh, I definitely picked it up in the last few miles. And so the last mile, I did pick it up. Last mile and a half, I picked it up because I thought, oh, I want to break that 14 just in case, again, this is Mike Riley's last race. If he's going, all right, who can make, here they come, guys, the sub 14 athletes or whatever it is. Like, if I can make 14, sweet. That would be kind of like,
Mhm.
there's my little victory. I can break
Yeah.
14. I don't want to go over 14 on this day. If I can break, and I was doing the math, I go, all right, oh, there's my overall time. I can see my overall time when I started. Okay, I can do this. And then I realized I can really do this because it was like 5.5 minutes to spare. I can really do this. So I jogged the last. I had an opportunity to just walk, but I pushed it. Not pushed it. I ran the
Uh-huh.
last mile and a half no matter what. Even though I could have stopped, it's like, oh, tomorrow at 7 whatever o'clock it was, 8 o'clock, I'll be home because we flew home the next day. Tomorrow at this time, and with a mile to go, I'll be back in Spokane tomorrow at this time. And how good is that going to feel knowing that I did this? I was going to
Uh-huh.
finish anyway at this point, but so I jogged the last half mile and a half, and as I made the turn around the corner, I think I shared the video with you, right, where I saw my family. So I turned the
Yeah.
corner and I was looking. All right, there they are. Yes, there he is. There's Finn. Give him a big old kiss. And the video I shared with you, I felt like I sat there for 10, 15 seconds, but in reality, it was like there 4 seconds. And I gave him a
Uh-huh.
kiss and I said something to him like, "Hey, buddy, I'm going to do it," or something, or "We
Uh-huh.
did it," whatever. It felt like 20 seconds I sat there, but in reality, it was a snap. It's gone.
Uh-huh.
But at least I got that experience with him. He saw me smile, and that was my goal.
Yeah.
I want him to see me having a good time, see me not upset that it
Mhm.
didn't go my way that day. It wasn't a PR race, big deal. Saw him, kissed him, and went down. And maybe I told you this before, I want to make sure I have a gap between me and the person behind me, so I'm
Yeah.
not in
At the
someone's photo.
finish.
Yes. So I don't want to be in someone's photo. I don't want someone to be in my photo. So I purposely, and that's what increased my speed in this last mile and a half. It's like I want to get a gap between the person behind me, not to be a jerk to them, but for that photo.
Uh-huh.
And so I told you I had two finish line photos in mind.
Uh-huh.
I got them both on camera. And one was showing the number 4 in one hand and the number 2 in one hand to signify 6 Ironmans. And the 2 is something my son does where he puts it up to his eye and like gives you a
Uh-huh.
2. So that was my 4-2 Finn finish. And the next one was kind of a Hulk Hogan, point to one side and flex the other arm to the other side.
Yeah.
And that was my other one that I want to do at the finish to have a photo somewhere on the wall later. And I nailed that one too. So it was like, yes. And I heard Mike say my name and I pointed, but they have lights flashing on you
Mhm.
in the dark. You may not know about that. When you're in the dark, you can't see anything.
Mhm.
So I heard Mike and I pointed up to wherever I thought he was. And then I did that coming across. And then I stopped at the finish line and gave him one of those.
Awesome.
Yes. And it was awesome. And then I waited and wife, her mom, my 2 kids. I waited for them to make their way to this other side, and that was the best part. And because I didn't go hard, you know,
Mhm.
I was walking okay. In the past, like, oh, cramps or whatever else. I
Mhm.
went over and had a couple pieces of pizza, sat down, and go, all right, that's it. Let's go to my bike. And I went home. That was it. Sweet. And I felt so relieved, so content. Did it. I have nothing else to prove. I'm done. See you later. Thanks for the memories. It's over. And I was just really relaxed. Um,
Yeah, I love it.
Even though the time wasn't what I wanted to be, the goals changed throughout the day, clearly. And it's like,
Mhm.
didn't work out.
It's an experience.
Yeah.
It's an experience, and it's another opportunity to enjoy the process of what just happened.
Yeah.
And, it sounds like you learned a lot of lessons learned to share with others, like you just did.
Mhm.
And, if use it, save it for another day. You can use this, put in your toolbox for the next Ironman or next adventure or whatever else you decide to do in the future. It'll always be there for you.
And I think with any, if who's done one before, or you haven't done one, once you've done this, you really feel not invincible, but like there's nothing hard to do out there. I
Hmm.
know there's other harder events, but you can do an Ironman in a day. What can't you do? There's nothing insurmountable that you physically can't do if you can handle one of these.
Hmm.
Even though I was 2.5 hours slower than I wanted to be, I managed 14 hours of exercise in one day.
Hmm.
I
Right.
moved nonstop for 14 hours. What can't I do? And I think that carries over into my life of when I go and play darts, for example. I'm getting to be a very competitive dart player. When I look at my other competitors, I have a confidence and calmness about me. It's a different group of people, clearly.
Hmm.
They're not athletes per se. I feel like I'm good. I can handle anything that you can do. It's a weird confidence, not like an
Hmm.
arrogance confidence. It's like, all right, I'm here. There's
Hmm.
almost like a martial artist where there's a calmness that you can handle something. If blank hits the fan, I'm good. I'm ready
Hmm.
anytime. So by doing another one, it reaffirms my confidence because it's been a long time. I feel
Right.
not a poser, Wendy, because it's been 7 years, 2015. It's been a long time since I've been an Ironman, and I feel like I needed to do one more to justify my membership in this community. But that's just
Right.
me. I know one
No,
time an
totally. I
Ironman,
get it.
all time an Ironman, but it's like, it's been a while. I don't feel like I need to
Right.
do one of these to be able to walk this talk, talk this walk, walk this talk.
Right. I mean, it's like me. I just wanted to do Kona one more time. I
Hmm.
wanted to have one more experience with all the knowledge I've gained and the changes I've made and the attitude I had and the positivity and just experiences I've had. I just wanted to bring it all into Kona one more time.
Hmm.
And so I'm really glad I had that opportunity um, last
And,
month in October.
and even though the times weren't there, you were there, and it
Yeah.
took something to get there. And I think anybody
Yeah.
who steps up to the line, you look around, and there was a guy on the plane when we were flying home the next day who had his some gear on or something, and
Uh-huh.
he patted me on the shoulder like, "Hey bud, what's up?" Like, "Hey, good job." Like little wink and a
Yeah.
smile, like, "Hey,
Yeah.
we just did something together that no one else did on this plane," and that's neat. And I
Yeah.
bought gear. I bought hundreds of dollars worth of gear,
Uh-huh.
like souvenirs. And it's like, I don't get this is my last one I'm going to spend some money here. Hang
Hmm.
a jacket, 3 or 4 shirts, a couple hats, the banner that has your
Hmm.
name, like yours that from Kona. Every one of these M dots in the back of your shirts have like the names, which is a brilliant marketing idea. I'm getting one of those. I got one from a friend. It's like, I'm going to enjoy this.
Hmm.
Oh, so that's that. But the day before was the Iron Kids race that I got to do
Uh-huh.
with my boy.
I gotta
And
go. I have to go.
oh, you got to go?
Yeah, it's 3 o'clock.
Oh crap, that went fast. All right. Well, it looks like we have a part two coming up next week. A lot to catch up on. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't even know if we want to include this. I gotta go in the podcast, but I gotta
Yes,
rush off.
you got to rush off. All right. That's it for 381. We'll catch up next week. Wendy's got to go. Thanks for watching. Have a great week of racing, recovery, training, whatever. Adios.
Adios.